It doesn't matter if you're developing a dark and serious or bright and cartoony game. Good lighting is essential, and by good I don't mean physically accurate. I mean varied lighting that adds depth and sets the tone of the game. I recently played a bunch of modern PS1 style games, and I noticed these two lighting setups over and over. Bright flat lighting or dark flat lighting with or without a flashlight, and a few point lights sprinkled in the level. The problem is that the lighting looks flat, but the good news is that it can be easily fixed with the help of vertex colors. Many PlayStation games used vertex colors to fake lighting and shadows. This method not only adds depth to the scene, but it also hides that dreaded tiled texture look. On top of that, lights can help you guide the player in the right direction, but that's more of a gameplay feature. In this video, I want to talk about it purely from aesthetic standpoint. In my opinion, lighting in Alien Resurrection looks amazing, and it's so varied. The game uses regular and flickering point lights, baked lighting, particle effects, static and dynamic vertex colors. But baked lighting plus vertex colors is the ultimate combo. It looks so good when a tiny or large light affects the surrounding area. It actually feels like a light and not just, a few bright pixels in a texture. If you're developing a horror game, then this is the game to take inspiration from regarding lighting. Another great example is the caustics in Tomb Raider. It's such a simple effect, but it makes the water look more dynamic and inviting. I just want to jump in whenever I see it. Okay, but what if your level is brightly lit? It's outdoors, in the middle of the day, there's snow everywhere. Well, let's look at a perfect example, Sledstorm. The same rules apply here. Light isn't evenly distributed across the entire terrain. Some areas are darker than others, but with a bright terrain like this, it's important to keep the shadows subtle. Don't use a really dark color unless it makes sense, like in this cave section. It would stick out like a sore thumb without proper vertex colors. But if you want your game to turn heads, then use rim lighting. It's used to expose the outline of the subject, and Vagrant Story is the perfect example of this. It's a really dramatic effect, and I think it's important not to overdo it and keep it subtle. Use it when it actually makes sense and not just because it might look cool. This is a quick scene I did in Unreal Engine to drive the point home. Once the ambient lighting is done, you can start thinking about adding point lights and other light sources. The reason I'm even making this video is because I want to squash the notion that if you're making a retro style game, it has to look like shit. It couldn't be further from the truth. Remember that games cost a lot back then too, and they had to impress and convince people to buy them, so they had to look as good as possible. I hope this was useful to you, and if you enjoy this type of PlayStation content, then subscribe. I'll be uploading similar videos in the future.